All right, let's get into it. We hear about these massive real estate deals all the time, but how do they actually work? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and get a look inside the world of high-stakes finance to see how a multi-million-dollar deal gets done, and gets done incredibly fast.
It all starts with a number, $13 million. That is a huge figure, right? It's the kind of money that builds things, that makes a real impact. But honestly, the number itself, that's only part of the story.
Here's the other part, and this is where it gets crazy. How do you possibly move $13 million for a complex commercial property in just 23 days? I mean, think about that. That's the real challenge, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack. So to really get how this happened, we've got to know the who and the what. Let's set the scene and introduce the key players in this whole thing. Okay, here's the breakdown. The lender is a company called EBSC Lending, and the asset they're financing isn't just some random office building. It's a vital piece of the community. We're talking about an 86-unit senior housing community in New Jersey, providing both assisted living and memory care. Now that context, that's super important for understanding what's at stake here. Every big deal like this starts with a problem, right? A need. In this case, the client wasn't just looking for money. They were looking for money right now. Let's dig into why they were in such a hurry. The borrower was actually a repeat client of EBSC, which is a big deal. It tells you there's already trust built in. So, they had some existing debt on this property, and they needed to refinance it, like yesterday. In finance, waiting can cost a fortune, so the pressure was definitely on. Just look at this timeline. It's wild. 23 days, from the very first request to $13 million in the bank. And to give you some perspective, a typical loan like this takes 60 to 90 days, 2 to 3 months. So this wasn't just business as usual. It was a flat-out sprint.
So how in the world did they pull off this sprint? Well, it all comes down to a very specific, very powerful financial tool, one that's designed for exactly this kind of high-pressure situation.
It's called a bridge loan, and the name really says it all. Think of it like a temporary financial bridge. It's designed to get you from point A, where you have an immediate cash need, like refinancing old debt, over to point B, where you can secure your permanent long-term financing. It's all about speed. It's about filling that gap.
And this is basically the journey the client took. They started with that existing debt breathing down their neck. The crossing was this fast, flexible bridge loan that solved the immediate problem. And their final destination? Well, that's the transition to a more normal, long-term loan once the dust settles.
Now, you can't just walk into a bank and ask for a $13 million loan in 3 weeks, right? A deal of this size and speed can't be some off-the-shelf product. It has to be custom built. So let's look at the specific features that made this particular bridge loan work.
Okay, let's unpack what this actually means, because it's important. Fully funded reserves just means money was set aside from the get-go for big expenses like interest and taxes. That gives everyone peace of mind. Then you have this competitive pay rate with accruals. That's a fancy way of saying the payment structure was flexible, making things easier on the borrower in the short term. It's all about creating a stable, predictable situation for everyone involved.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The CEO himself, Martin Alex, basically spells out their whole strategy here. He zeroes in on speed and flexibility. This deal wasn't a fluke. It was a deliberate move, part of their core business model, especially for valuable properties in hot markets.
So this one deal is pretty impressive, but it's really just one piece of a much bigger puzzle. A lender like EBSC doesn't just do one type of loan. Let's zoom out for a second and see the bigger picture of what they do. $2 billion. I mean, just let that number sink in. That's how much capital this one company has invested since it started. A number like that tells you they have some serious experience and the financial muscle to take on really significant projects.
And that $2 billion wasn't just spent on one kind of thing. Look at this. This is their entire toolkit. It's way more than just bridge loans. They do everything from funding new construction to fix and flips, and even get into highly specialized areas like the cannabis industry. It's this kind of versatility that lets them build those custom solutions we were just talking about.
I love this quote from the VP, David Palmer, because he uses two really important words, relationship and strategic. See, this wasn't just a one-and-done transaction. It was about making a partnership stronger and making sure that this short-term loan actually fit into the client's long-term plans.
Okay, we've gone through the numbers, the timeline, the mechanics, but let's bring it all home. Why should we even care about a $13 million deal in New Jersey? Why does it actually matter? Because at the end of the day, this isn't just about spreadsheets and interest rates. Behind all that finance, There's a real place. This loan secured the financial future of a home for 86 people who need assisted living and memory care. It's a direct line from a complex financial deal to real, tangible support for a community.
And that really brings us to the key takeaway. Here's the bottom line. We started with one single $13 million loan. But the big picture is that this kind of specialized, fast, flexible financing, it's the engine that allows so many essential projects, from senior living to apartment buildings, to actually get funded, built, and kept running. And that kind of leaves you wondering, doesn't it? This one community found its bridge to financial stability. So what other vital projects out there, what other schools or homes or clinics are just one creative financial solution away from becoming a reality?